Hey, it's Jordan with TYT and TYT Network. It is Friday, April 8th, 2016. A little cloudy here in New York. And I have with me a University of Pittsburgh student who should have been a bigger story this week, but because the media has ADD, she didn't quite crack through. So let's see what we could do. Sage Lincoln is with me. She's, again, a student with University of Pittsburgh. And a few days ago, she approached Secretary Clinton at another one of her events. I believe it was in Pittsburgh, and confronted her, similar to the activist we spoke to last week, Eva Resnick Day. Sage asked about, will Secretary Clinton denounce or reject registered fracking lobbyists? Secretary Clinton had a little laugh instead of an answer.
Hi, will you reject money from registered fracking lobbyists? Go read the articles and debunked all that. We've done our research!
Sage, first talk to me. How did you get involved with being an activist on fracking, and what made you want to approach Secretary Clinton?
So I grew up in Pittsburgh, and luckily fracking is banned within the city limits, but it's, all throughout western Pennsylvania. 30 minutes away from Pittsburgh, you have 6 wells being put up within 3,000 feet of a school, where I know people at. Additionally, in the past few years, our county parks have been opened up to allow fracking in there, and our airport land is also being fracked on. And, this is major health issues in local communities, and Pittsburgh already has a lot of issues with air quality, and I grew up with asthma despite having no family history, and so adding fracking fuels and all the volatile organic compounds to the mix is only making communities' health even worse, in addition to the severe climate impacts that carbon dioxide and leaked methane have when considering my future. So that's what really inspired me to get involved. And Hillary Clinton has made some really great stances on climate. However, there's still some worrying things. She's still accepting money from registered fracking and fossil fuel lobbyists, and she still hasn't denounced fracking. And so I really think that she should make the steps and say that she'll reject that money. And if she does that, she'll be the candidate that we need. Because the next 4 to 8 years, whoever is in office could determine the future of the entire planet. And so we need a leader that's ready to not just, talk the talk, but someone who's walking the walk.
You don't have to get in depth, but could you explain to the audience what exactly fracking is and why it's so dangerous?
Yeah, so southwestern Pennsylvania is over what's known as the Marcellus Shale, which was deposited millions and millions of years ago. It was an inland sea where whenever, microorganisms would die, they'd sink to the bottom. And over millions of years, they got compacted, and most of it is just rock, but there are little pockets of natural gas trapped within there. And so the fracking that goes on around my region is unconventional natural gas, where they drill vertical and then they go out for miles horizontally and inject a lot of water mixed with lots of different chemicals into those wells and effectively crack all of the rock around it. That's what's known as fracking, in order to release the gas. However, a lot of different, volatile organic compounds, which are carcinogenic, contaminate the air around these pads. And also there have been reports of water quality issues in association with all of the chemicals that they use to frack.
So, visually, to tell my audience, because I saw a really jarring documentary called Gasland, people who live next to these pipelines are literally, turning their sink on, and there's flames coming out, which is connection to toxic oil and, what she said, the hydrolyzed water. You could see the danger just recently in South Dakota. There was a fracking spill. Can you tell us what happened there?
The Keystone 1 pipeline sprung a leak. It wasn't detected at all by the company TransCanada, despite a highly technical computing system designed to detect leaks. But the farmer whose property it leaked on was able to detect the spill, and so they've been working on it. They shut the pipeline off, and over 16,000 gallons of oil have already been spilled, and that's what they've detected. We're not really sure the extent of the environmental impact, but it is near the Missouri River, and this is also the 5th leak from this pipeline in South Dakota since it's been put up.
So basically, to really connect that to what's been going on. Flint, Michigan has been big on the news. So if you have local officials in these areas that are either A, corrupt, or B, incompetent, and this stuff gets into water and it's not sealed off before, children or adults can drink it, you kind of could have what you saw in Flint, pretty much Flint 2.0, if you have these kinds of things happening, correct?
Yeah. And also, the water quality and, lighting the water on fire, that's a very visible impact. And that's not the most common impact at all. The most common impact are these volatile organic compounds that are being released near these pads. And those, pregnant women who live within 10 miles, and 10 miles, is quite a distance from these wells, have a statistically significant increased risk of giving birth to a child with congenital heart, brain, and spinal damage. And so, the water, you can see that and you can light it on fire. You can't see what you're breathing in every single day, though.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not even going to get into Republicans on fracking because they're on another planet. So I want to tell you what Hillary Clinton said at the debate in Michigan on fracking. Mm-hmm. She said, "I don't support it when any locality or any state is against it, number one. I don't support it when the release of methane or contamination of water is present. I don't support it, number three, unless we could require that anybody who fracks has to tell us exactly what chemicals they are using. So by the time we get through all of my conditions, I do not think there will be many places in America where fracking will continue to take place." Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of, double and triple speak for when she doesn't support it. Sanders has just said, no, I don't support it, period. Mm-hmm. So she's talking that talk. I'm going to tell you some of the recent stuff. On March 9th, Clinton held a $575 a plate dinner, a fundraising lunch, at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in California, hosted by Alyssa Wood. She's a partner at the international private equity firm KKR. So for viewers thinking, oh, it's just another equity firm, that's our Wall Street ties. Let me explain. In 2009, KKR began heavily investing in fracking, purchasing legal shares of 3 North American oil and gas companies and selling 2 of them for billions in profits. The third was hit hard by plummeted gas prices and declared bankruptcy. KKR was not deterred and still owns a large portfolio of small fossil fuel companies, at least 2 of which still use fracking. So that was a long-winded way of saying she's, like she has in many cases, she's talking the talk on one end and taking the money on the other. To you, just as an activist, a concerned American, do you trust that, if in office, she's going to then, be the pure environmentalist and shut this dangerous stuff down?
Currently, I don't. If she were to publicly reject all money from fossil fuel companies and fossil fuel lobbyists, that would be a really strong indicator that she's willing to do what it's needed and willing to, decrease and end her dependency on fossil fuels. But until we see her actually taking those steps, in her own campaign and how she's operating, I can't trust her to follow through on what she's saying, especially with things like, the KKR fundraiser, and especially with her history with the Global Shale Gas Initiative when she was Secretary of State, pushing fracking not only nationally but also internationally.
And I think what's interesting, the mainstream media doesn't really look at it this way because they're all older and they kind of accept politics as usual. But to me, it's not just about, does these donations prove that when in office she will give back favors? To me, that's not the only issue. The issue is what are your associations? Because your associations and the money you take kind of speak bigger picture to what kind of crisis you think something is, or what kind of priority you think something is. So to me, if you're taking this money or you're having fundraisers with a huge equity firm who a lot of their money comes from fracking, do you really think fracking is that big of a danger? How do you view it? Do you view it as kind of it's a pay-to-play thing and, you're worried about the fact that she's taking the money, that she would essentially look the other way when president? Or you're more concerned about just simply her associations with the industry?
So I'm very concerned about both and, democracy as a whole, too, and the role that money has on it. You have the, Princeton study in 2014 saying, we're not even living in a democracy anymore. There's pretty much no correlation on what the general populace wants and what, is likely to be enacted in Congress. And so, we need major campaign reform. And Hillary has said this, but she's not following through at all. And so, this is an issue over democracy, and it's also an issue of the future of the planet.
And in terms of Bernie Sanders, not looking for you to pick one or the other, but in debates, he's actually compared the threat of, climate change and fracking on the same level as terrorism. Do you feel his record? I mean, let's be clear. He has taken individual contributions from fossil fuel companies, not companies, but individuals working for those companies, much lesser degree, $50,000. Who the hell knows who these people are? It could be good people who are against it who happen to work for the companies. I don't know, but I should say he does take money from the industry. But are you concerned about his record, or what he said and his refusal to accept larger scale PAC money and that from the industry? Are you comfortable with him?
I feel like, the research I've done shows that he has a much stronger track record on environmental issues. He's been very vocal about not supporting fracking for many years. And so right now I feel more confident in his ability to actually walk the walk, because he has done that. And I'm still on the fence about Hillary, whether or not she'll really do what it's needed and whether or not she'll be the president that we'll need. Hopefully she will, and hopefully, I asked that question to her hoping she'd say yes. And so if she comes around, I'll feel a lot more confident in her ability to deliver on her promises. But right now, Bernie Sanders is the candidate that I see most able to do that.
And my last question has nothing to do with fracking or anything, but I'm just curious because, I'm not old, but I'm a little older than you. What kind of went through your mind? How does it feel when, you go up to her? It's not like you were screaming or anything. And a presidential candidate, when you ask a serious question, is essentially, she was laughing at you and basically telling you to do your homework.
Yeah, I was extremely disappointed. I thought, I at least deserved a response. She didn't respond to the question I asked at all. She laughed in my face. I'm not trying to cause a problem. I'm not trying to, make a big scene. But these are important questions to my generation, and these are questions that we deserve answered. And so the fact that, she's disregarding us while having, private meetings in the back room with big donors is extremely disappointing to me. And I came out of it very disappointed and very sad about what had happened.
Well, I would say in this grand scheme of you not trying to cause a problem, the kind of extermination of the planet Earth and us is kind of a problem. So don't be so concerned about not causing a problem. You did the right thing. I want to thank you for talking to us, and keep up the good fight.